I will say good morning. It's always a pleasure to have Karen Onen in. She talks transportation. In fact, her middle name is Karen Transportation Onen, right?
My mother wouldn't like that.
I don't think Mom would like that at all. Absolutely. But talk a little bit before we bring our guest in, let's say this morning, Karen. Give folks just a quick little rundown of what you do, what the purpose, because I'm thinking, we have listeners come and go.
Right, exactly. Well, hello, everyone. I just wanted to let everybody know that I'm working on East Central Transit, all the aspects of transportation in the East Central region. I work at the East Central Regional Development Commission, and under that umbrella, I work with MnDOT, working on the East Central Regional Transportation Coordinating Council. That's a long word, but we're all about East Central Transit. There are these regional transportation coordinating councils throughout the state of Minnesota. So ultimately, we want to connect the whole state with transportation so you can get from here to wherever you need to go without huge issues, and that you can go onto our website, eastcentraltransit.com, to find out who is available in your region to take you from here to there.
It really is some great information, and I do think probably the website is one of the coolest things that's come out of this because it is a one-stop shop. You go there and you're going to find out the connections with all these different providers. So much information is there, and our past interviews with folks throughout are also available. So I encourage people to go and check out that website first and foremost.
All the podcasts are on the website, and also there are links to all of the other RTCCs in the state, so you can click on there and see what all the other RTCCs are up
Right,
to.
make those connections in the state of Minnesota, basically. It really is a great thing. So this morning, I'm pretty excited because you are going to bring in Brandon, so I'll let you do the introductions, Karen.
All right. Well, I want to welcome Brandon Nurmi, who is from the Arrowhead Transit, and his title is Assistant Director of Arrowhead Transit. Good morning, Brandon.
Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Robin. Thanks for having me on.
Can you mention real quick before we get into some of the questions here, which area does Arrowhead Transit cover, Brandon?
Arrowhead Transit operates in 10 different counties. We operate in Cook County up in the Grand Marais area all the way down to Tofte. We operate in the lake area around the Two Harbors area and up to Silver and Beaver Bay. We operate in St. Louis County, in both North St. Louis County and in Hermantown around Duluth. We operate in Carleton County, in Moose Lake, Cloquet, and in Carleton itself. We also operate in Itasca County in the Grand Rapids area out to Deer River. We also operate in Aiken County around the Aiken area with a couple of connections to places like Brainerd and McGregor. And then we operate in Pine County, Chisago County, and Isanti County, which is more directly focused on what we're going to be talking about here today.
It is amazing to me what a large swath of Minnesota that Arrowhead Transit covers. How long has Arrowhead Transit been around, Brandon?
So Arrowhead Transit started in 1974 as a senior rides program in the Itasca area and has expanded since then into the transit agency that we are today.
It's just amazing, the growth that's happened in that time period. And I know COVID has been quite the problem for a while, and things are starting to kind of segue a little bit, and buses definitely are getting busier. And with that, I'm thinking more and more drivers are needed as well. Do we want to kind of start with that, Karen, do you think? Is that the route to go?
I think that's a perfect spot because bus drivers are in need in the Arrowhead region because COVID hit and some of the drivers left and some of the riders have been less. So could have Brandon talk a little bit about the need for bus drivers.
Over COVID, we, of course, had a huge impact to our ridership. The amount of riders that we had in 2020 and 2021 was almost 50% less than what we had in 2019. So it was an enormous amount of passenger loss. With those passenger losses came reduction in routes. Now that things are calming down and our ridership is starting to climb again, we are trying to get all of our routes back up and running. And to be able to do that, we need to have good bus drivers that are customer-friendly and willing to do that little bit extra to make sure that all of our riders get the service that they need.
Before we get into specifics, what it would take to be a driver, let's talk about just an average day, because I know you've been around a number of years. We introduced you last year, actually, so I didn't go into, Brandon, your background and all that. We could have done that again. But I know that you know and understand kind of what a basic day for a driver is. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So just as a quick background, I started with Arrowhead Transit as a part-time bus driver. Over the last 12 years, I've gone into full-time bus driver, full-time dispatch, safety and training, area manager, and then finally into assistant director. So I've seen the operations for Arrowhead Transit all the way from street level all the way up through management. So a typical day for a driver is mostly dependent on which type of route that they're going to be on. So we have multiple subscription routes where we're giving transportation to human services clients. We also have demand response, which is known more popularly as dial-a-ride, where within a certain service area we have multiple buses available for giving rides right from your house to right where you're going. So whether it's for shopping or medical appointments or work or just to go visit your friends down at the community center, it's available to the entire general public. So the drivers get to meet a lot of great people in their community and have an opportunity to really be able to help out with those that have some transportation challenges or just want to save a few bucks on gas by not driving their own vehicle.
So, Brandon, because you've done this yourself, it sounds like you've run the gamut there at Arrowhead Transit. Why do you like the job? Why is it something that you think is especially appealing?
For me, the job's especially appealing because we get to help so many different types of people through so many different types of challenges. So whenever you look at anything from healthcare to employment to groceries to aging at home, one of the largest barriers that people run into is a lack of transportation. So I really feel like the work that I'm doing here, that all of the people at Arrowhead Transit are doing here, really helps everybody in all programs to be able to continue to live in the way that works best for them and for their family members. So I get a real sense of accomplishment working here. It's just a passion of mine, and I can see the impacts of what we do pretty much on an everyday basis. It's really appealing to me to continue in this field.
Do your drivers do the same routes every day or?
No.
Okay, they don't. So they have a set list of where they're supposed to go and then interjected in there maybe some rides that they have to pick up. How does that all work? I mean, the drivers, do they need to know the area well?
So it's not important that a new driver coming on board has a great understanding of the entire area, all the back roads and all the best ways to get to places. But as they drive, they will, of course, start developing that knowledge, especially for reaching a lot of the places where we go to quite a bit. But yeah, coming on board, it's not a requirement that a person knows every little corner of the areas that they'll be working in. So our drivers start off working exclusively in the county that they're hired in. And then there are some opportunities to work in other adjacent counties, but they usually get quite a bit of training prior to having to go any other place. And we usually work with the drivers, the ones that are willing to do that and ones that are not.
Well, let's say that I'm coming to you and, Brandon, I'm interested in becoming a driver. What is my first step?
So the first step is to apply for the position. If you go to arrowheadtransit.com, under careers, we have a listing of each different position that we have open for hiring. And then there's a quick button link to bring you to the actual site where you would fill out the application. So the quickest and easiest way is just to go to arrowheadtransit.com, into careers, and then select the position that you're interested in. After the application is filled out, then our county manager would reach out to set up interviews, and that would start us on the way for bringing a potential driver on board.
And do you have to have a CDL license?
No. So you don't have to actually start with a CDL license. After the interview, we would send the potential drivers out to get their permits. Once they have their permits in hand, that's when we would start doing the background checks, set up their behind-the-wheel training, and set up their CDL road test in one of our buses.
Sounds like once you take that first step, it naturally goes to the next one. If I'm also considering this job, can you give me an idea? Are there some benefits? Is it just paid by the hour? Is it paid by the route? How does that piece work?
All of our bus driver positions are union positions. They are paid by the hour, and pay increases are based on the amount of hours that a driver works. So as you get into like 1,080 hours, which is usually about 6 months, then you get the next pay raise and so on and so forth as you accumulate more driving hours. Full-time and part-time drivers have access to certain benefits, health care, dental, vision, retirement, and life insurance.
Can I ask a question about that permit and then going into that and further into the CDL licensure? What did you mean by getting the permit? And then what does it cost a person to get that CDL licensure?
For getting the permit, we would provide them with the CDL manual and let them know, what they would want to be studying inside that CDL manual. And then the potential driver would just head down to the local DMV and take a CDL permit test for a Class B with a passenger endorsement. It does not cost anything to take the test for the first couple of times. I believe that DPS charges, I think, $5 after the first 2 times for any additional tests, but we normally don't run across any applicants having to take the test more than a couple of times.
Do you have to have a particular vehicle to drive for the test? And I'm wondering, do you guys provide that if you have a prospective employee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So for the test, you have to have a passenger vehicle to take a passenger endorsement test, and we provide the buses for that.
Okay.
Once we set up the test, then we have one of our employees/trainers go with the person taking the test with a bus. Once they're on board for training, then they become an employee, so all of the training is paid at the beginning hourly rate.
So when they do this, now if somebody's listening and they're from Mora, for example, or somebody's listening and they're from Aiken, where would they have to go for this initial, so they've gone online, they've said, I'd like to have a chance at a job here. Where would they go for the actual interview?
Depending on the area, the managers would come to meet them in those areas.
Oh, really?
So, for instance, if they were in Aiken and we were doing an interview in Aiken, the manager would go down to Aiken or a supervisor would go down to Aiken and meet with the driver to do the interview there. Unless that didn't work out, then we could do it virtually as well if that works better for the potential applicant.
Boy, that's good to know because it's very convenient for anybody who's interested.
Brandon, is there anything else you want to bring up?
We do have a driver sign-on program / employee referral program. So anybody that begins working with Arrowhead Transit as a bus driver or one of our dispatchers up here in Gilbert, after working for 150 hours, receive $100 as a sign-on bonus, and then after 6 months, receive an additional $200.
Wow.
And then if you happen to know somebody who's an employee here, make sure you let them know that you're applying because they get an employee referral bonus if they're referring employees to those positions. Then they share in those bonuses at the 150 and 6-month mark.
Well, Brandon, tell us how we reach you.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I was saying before, we have a website, arrowheadtransit.com. And on the website, we have all of our schedules, our job opportunities, and basic information about Arrowhead Transit. We also have an 800 number. It's 1-800-862-0175. That will immediately put you into a call tree, which is separated out by our managers and by our different counties that we offer service in. So if you're looking to set up a ride, then you call that 800 number and select the county that you live in, and then the dispatcher can help you with those rides. If you're looking to reach a manager, there's an option in there for talking to specific managers assigned to specific counties, which is also listed.
And again, probably the easiest thing to do if you're listening and just like, oh, that's a lot of information, eastcentraltransit.com. All of the contact information, including what Brandon just shared, is there and available.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and finally, I just want to say, too, that Arrowhead has a robust volunteer driver program, and they are always looking for volunteer drivers as well. Brandon, I really appreciate you being on the call today. I enjoy your commercials, and I'm excited and hopeful that you will get some more drivers. This would be fantastic to fill in all the gaps.
Well, thank you very much. As I said, the more drivers we get, the more routes we can put into place, and the more help that we can do for all of our individual communities.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, Brandon, hope you have a great weekend. As always, we appreciate your time, and no doubt we'll be talking to you, no pun intended, down the road.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And this update has been brought to you in part by MnDOT.